Mystery exploration. Darkness. History. Darkest side.
The miracle that science couldn't explain. There are moments in human history where faith and science collide, where doctors, researchers, and skeptics stand in stunned silence, unable to explain what they are witnessing. This is the story of one such miracle. It began in a small French town in the 19th century, a place called Lourdes. At that time, France was still recovering from political upheaval, and religion was often dismissed as superstition. But in 1858, something extraordinary would happen, a quiet event that would draw millions of people from all over the world, seeking proof of the divine. In Lourdes lived a poor 14-year-old girl named Bernadette Soubirous. She was frail, often sick, and uneducated. One cold February day, she went with her sister and a friend to collect firewood near a cave. As she stepped into the chilly air of the grotto, something happened that would change history. Bernadette described seeing a lady, clothed in white, with a blue sash and golden roses on her feet. She said the woman was beautiful beyond words and filled her with peace. Bernadette thought it was a vision from heaven, but she told no one at first, afraid people would call her mad. Yet the visions continued, 18 in total. The mysterious lady spoke of prayer, repentance, and faith. And then, she gave Bernadette a strange instruction, to dig into the ground of the grotto and drink the water that would appear there. People mocked her when she clawed at the dirt with her hands, but soon, a spring began to flow. What began as a trickle would become a river of miracles. Doctors came to investigate. Skeptics dismissed it as fantasy. But then, healings began. Real healings. A woman dying of advanced tuberculosis drank the spring water and recovered overnight. A man blinded by an accident bathed his eyes in the water and regained sight. Children crippled by disease began to walk. The story spread like wildfire, and thousands traveled to Lourdes, hoping for healing. By now, the Catholic Church faced a dilemma. Was this hysteria? Was Bernadette lying? A thorough investigation began, led not just by clergy but by medical experts. Bernadette was questioned relentlessly, yet her story never changed. She asked for nothing, no fame, no money, only prayer. The Lourdes Medical Bureau was established in 1883, a group of doctors from all backgrounds, including non-believers, tasked with examining every claimed miracle. Over the years, thousands of cases were studied. Most had explanations. But some defied all science. Take the case of Jean-Pierre Billy. In 1987, Jean-Pierre was a French nurse diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a disease that slowly destroys the nervous system. He was paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair. Doctors had given up hope. Jean-Pierre traveled to Lourdes, not expecting healing, only peace before death. He was blessed with the waters and prayed. And then, something impossible happened. Within hours, he regained feeling in his legs. Within days, he stood. Within weeks, he walked unaided. Doctors examined him and found no trace of the disease. MRI scan showed nerve restoration that, according to medical science, should be impossible. His case was officially declared medically inexplicable. Then there is the story of Sister Luigina Traverso. She suffered from a severe spinal deformity and was completely unable to walk. After visiting Lourdes in 1965, she not only stood but walked out of the sanctuary without assistance. X-rays showed a completely normal spine. Surgeons who had treated her before could only shake their heads. But perhaps the most haunting miracle of all is not of the living, but of the dead. When Bernadette herself died at just 35 years old, her body was placed in a simple grave. Decades later, church officials ordered her exhumation as part of the process of sainthood. What they found stunned them. Bernadette's body was perfectly preserved. No decay. No odor. Even her skin looked untouched by time. She had been buried in a damp wooden coffin, with no embalming, yet her body remained lifelike. Multiple exhumations confirmed it. Over a century later, her body remains incorrupt. Pilgrims who see her today at the Chapel of St. Gildard speak of an unearthly peace that fills the room. Science has no explanation for her incorruptibility. No natural conditions could preserve a body like that for so long. Experts examined her remains and found nothing artificial had been used. It is simply a mystery. The miracles of Lourdes have been scrutinized for over a century. Every case goes through rigorous investigation, involving panels of doctors, often atheists, from across the world. Out of more than 7,000 claims, only 70 are officially declared miracles, cases with no natural or medical explanation. And yet, the unexplainable healings continue to draw millions. People travel from every corner of the globe, not for spectacle, but for hope. Even skeptics leave changed, not always healed, but deeply moved. Some dismiss it all as coincidence, as placebo, or as the power of belief. Others see it as undeniable proof that there is something beyond the reach of human understanding, something that whispers of heaven. Faith and science have stood face to face in Lourdes for over 160 years. Doctors examine, scientists debate, theologians reflect, and yet the spring still flows. The grotto remains a place where wheelchairs are abandoned, where tears of despair turn into tears of joy, where hope is reborn. And perhaps this is the greatest miracle of all, that in a skeptical, modern world, something so small, so simple, and so impossible still calls people back to faith. A poor girl's vision. A spring in the dirt. Healings no one can explain. A body that does not decay. It is a mystery that refuses to fade. And maybe that is the point. For some truths are not meant to be dissected under a microscope but experienced in the silence of faith. Lourdes is not proof in the scientific sense, it is a signpost, pointing to something greater. And so the water flows, and the world watches, unable to explain, yet unable to forget.